you do not know how many sick people are around us until something bad like that happen, because society keep them down, either by repression or some other mean. When something bad happen, all that go out. Now, what is survivalism and prepping about? It is about men who will recognize on time that those things are coming or may happen, and that men will be ready. It can't happen here. And when you ask why, answer, oh, it can't, because this is America. World survivalism and prepping is being hijacked and portrayed as something weird. It is not weird. I call it common sense thing. You just need to be aware what is happening around you. That's survivalism, nothing else, nothing weirder than that. You just need to be aware.
Hello, everyone. Dr. Dave Moore here, and with the gentempo.com community. And today's a great conversation. So looking forward to Selco Begovic, who is the author of Dark Secrets of SHTF Survival, the brutal truth about violence, death, and mayhem you must know to survive. Now, SHTF stands for when shit hits the fan. Now, Selco survived the Balkan War in a city with no power, water, or supplies for a year. Selco, thank you so much for taking the time to communicate with the gentempo.com community today.
Yes, sure. Thank you for having me here. Thanks.
You know, the thing about you, which we talked about a little bit before we came on the air, is you're a regular guy, right? You just like people maybe here in America. I know there was war going on at the time around you, so they're a little different. But never did you, in your wildest dreams, did you think that this could happen? Like most people never have been in a true survival mode like you have. Most people in the United States, you talk about normalcy bias, right? So used to being so comfortable in their normal day-to-day lives. Can you share your story with our community? What happened, especially at the beginning when it went from life isn't usual to all of a sudden SHTF?
Yes, of course. First, I need to mention that it is in human nature to be full of, let's say, preconception. So prior that war, I was thinking that things that I experienced only happen in some strange countries, let's say in Africa, and I can see that only in movies or documentaries and stuff like that. Pretty soon it was happening around me. What I'm trying to explain you here is that I was average person living average life in let's say average country, in normal country, and everything changed in let's say couple of weeks.
So now, could you mind and I apologize to interject, but I wanted to just mention something that where you still live in that region. There's people that you're going to talk about or you write about in your book who are still around, and that is the reason why you don't show your face. So I wanted people, the listeners and the viewers, to know why you're blacked out there. That's for a reason, and just wanted to make sure people know that because you are still in that region. So and let's get back onto that story. Sorry about the interruption.
No problem. I will just add. I speak and wrote about real stuff that happened. And real people. A lot of those people are still alive, so that's the reason why I'm not showing my face. To continue, things started to happen that I never expect to happen to me from few reasons. First, it was, as you mentioned, normalcy bias. Now, when I look back to everything, I can for sure conclude that I should see it coming. Because there was numerous signs that it is coming. For example, and this is only small example, like lack of some goods in my area, powerful people leaving the area, or powerful politician, or people who had information about what is going to come to us. But I didn't notice those signs. And one more, even more important thing, even signs that I did recognize, I kind of push it away from me and told to myself, no, it cannot happen here because this is modern society. It is impossible to have civil war where everybody killing everyone, and it happened.
I think that's
it
natural
happened.
human behavior. You're in denial. You're like, this can't possibly be happening. And I want our viewers, our listeners to identify to that, because I don't think any of us, I totally identify to that. You were seeing, even in the United States, they're, it's starting to take guns away. They're starting to change. They're changing a lot of freedoms right now, and things are starting to change, but things will go back to normal. It's a denial type of thing, isn't it?
Capital words or main sentence that I keep hearing is this sentence: it can't happen here. And when you ask why, answer, oh, it can't because this is America or this is US. I mean, I appreciate that's US, but that it is, trust me, that's not reason why something bad cannot happen somewhere. Why? Because I went through exactly same sentence and words. I keep saying, no, it can't happen here because this is Balkan. This is modern society. We had our wars a long time ago. We are into democracy and what not. But it wasn't like that. All wars things happened, and that's the reason why actually from that moment I emerge into the survivalism, if you want to call it like that. But I wouldn't I need to mention again, world survivalism and prepping is being hijacked and portrayed as something weird. It is not weird. I call it common sense thing. You just need to be aware what is happening around you. That's survivalism, nothing else, nothing weirder than that. You just need to be aware.
Right. And I see it myself. You say survival, it's a strange, if years ago it was a little weirder, and now all of a sudden it started to become mainstream. Unfortunately, I think it's also getting hijacked by people that are selling you things to make you feel comfortable. I've got a bunch of batteries and water, I'll be fine. I don't think it's about the stuff. I think true preparedness and true survival comes from conversations with people like yourself, because how weird is it that it really happened, right? You lived this you didn't expect this to occur. So tell me what happens. Like, is it overnight something happened? Or, I mean, obviously there was some writing on the wall that you were in denial about, but then all of a sudden, did everything change?
I can put it like this. In a matter of 3 weeks, from rioting on the street and demanding some actions from the people, everything went through the full to the full scale shootout and storming the police station and storming the army barracks and having army taking one side against other group of the people. It probably took like few weeks. And of course, in that same timeline, most of the city services simply stopped to exist, like telephone connection lines, electricity, running water, and everything else. Now, again, I need to mention, even 1 month into that situation, most of the people still have that thought, oh, everything going to be back to normal very soon. And if you ask that guy or woman why you think like that, main answer will be because the world cannot tolerate this to happen. And here's the one very sad truth. Nobody gives a damn what is happening to you, especially in beginning. It needs time for the world to pay attention. I'm talking about my case, my scenario. So after some time, nobody cares. Now, what is survivalism and prepping about? It is about men who will recognize on time that those things are coming or may happen, and that man will be ready. Now, let me get some things more clear here. I'm not talking only about war, civil war, stuff like that. It can be bad weather event that can trigger some bad things, and everything can last for half year maybe. So it doesn't necessarily need to be war, because for example, when I talking about my experience and when I mention war, a lot of people will say, "Oh, civil war, it can happen here. It simply cannot happen here." Uh, it doesn't have to be civil war in your case. I'm talking about disruption of normal services and disruption of delivering goods, and that's it. Or if I want to very simplified what I'm talking about and what I teach people about, it is situation where when and where you have much more people than resources. It is simple like that.
Right. Lack of resources changes
Yes.
people.
Yes.
So okay. So bring us back. So now 3 weeks, we went on to a year. So you're expecting things to turn around. I mean, I guess people probably, whatever went through whatever things they had in their home. What did you start to experience after 3, 4, 5 weeks? What started to happen around? Obviously, there was a war going on at the same time. So did the war come into the city, or was this more of the fact that you were under siege and people started to go into what I would call survival mode?
First few weeks, maybe even a month, it was pretty chaotic until let's say who is who was established and who is where. What is most important for our story about prepping is after those few weeks, there's a change in people in terms of what is good and what is bad. I'll give you example, and it is real life example. There is a man who had 2 kids, and he find himself in the beginning of that civil war without stash of food, and he is law-abiding citizen, but he do not have food in his house for his kids. Now, what do you think he's going to do to feed his kids? Answer is he's going to do everything what is needed to feed his kids, including taking that food from his neighbor. Of course, he will go and storm the city mall like everybody else, and stores and storages. But as situations started to deteriorate more and more, he will use more drastic measure. Not everybody will going to do that, but most of the people will do everything what is needed to feed their kids. So after a month or bit more, people started to let's say to be more drastic in their actions. Why? Because again, they find themselves in situation where there is much more people than the resources. So black markets jumped in, gangs were start to be formed, or militias, you can call it today as you like. Result is same. Are organized armed groups of people, let's call it like that, who will fight for whoever give them more resources or better part of the city or something like that. So common man will either join some of those gangs or armed militias, or he might perish and his kids if he is not organized enough already.
So you start to see these. So when they do organize these gangs, would you say the purpose of the gangs is for the group protection, or is it to gain resources, or is it both? I mean, I would imagine the necessity of the gang probably started from the people that were the least prepared, right? So you've got all these people who are prepared, and then the people that aren't prepared saying, you know what, I know where I can get something, right? So you start to get groups of people together and I guess pack up. Is that what was happening?
You can easiest to explain it like this. Today you have organized crime. Let's call it mafia. So if mafia are going to protect part of the city or neighborhood from drug addicts, let's say, who can attack your kid, you will have to do something for the mafia. You will have to pay percentage of your business for the mafia, and they will protect you. This is very close to situation in that I went to, but it's a bit more drastic. So if you have organized militia in your part of the neighborhood, they will kind of protect you, but you will pay that protection either with your let's say muscles. You become their member, or with your valuables inside your house. Sometimes even with more drastic things from your home. And that doesn't mean necessary that they will not storm your house, kill everybody, and burn it down if some rival group pay them more. Now, looking from the distance, all of those we call it paramilitary groups were members of some armies, but it was very, very loose in command, if that makes sense, especially in the beginning stages of civil war.
So in your book, you mentioned that people are become one of the biggest threats. You gave a couple examples of that, which I appreciate. But if you don't mind, if you could just maybe tell me some things that really just kind of blew you away that you never thought would see happen. If you could share it. I mean, I don't want to dig too deep if it's a bad memory, but if it's something that maybe can paint a picture for somebody to understand maybe human nature in a survival situation over a period of time. Can you think of anything that is a good example of people becoming a threat that you wouldn't expect?
I can say that one of the first, let me put it like this. You do not know how many bad people, or let me rephrase that, you do not know how many sick people are around us until something bad like that happen, because society keep them down, either by repression or some other mean. When something bad happen, all that go out and do things. One of the first things that started so early in that civil war were private prisons. Easier way to describe those private prisons were a thing that people were kept there almost like for slave labor, and women were kept there for sexual. Yes, if you understand me.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So that's one of the first thing that emerged in that situation. Now I need to add even a lot of UN people visited those kind of places. So it wasn't about who were from where. It was about human nature in a situation like that. Worst human nature emerged immediately. So I can put it like this: it is much easier to see evil and bad men in that situation than to see good men. There were good people, do not get me wrong, but if you, on first glance, and if you go out and look, there evil is everywhere, evil people and sick people.
Yeah, I'm getting that impression. Like you think that as time goes on and as we, as a community, are more cultured, and when we live in convenience, we almost feel as if we have this level of humanity, that we can never regress. And I guess what you're saying is you saw how quickly that could deteriorate and how quickly we can see the evil in humanity emerge, especially when they're in survival mode and there's no civil law, right? There's nobody arresting anybody for anything wrong. So it's utter, I guess we call it utter chaos.
Yes, and it is very important moment in that SHTF event, any SHTF event, because we saw that examples of that even during the Katrina, I think, in US. Here's the one point. Very often people ask me, even online or during the real courses, question is how I can recognize the moment when everything is really gone to very bad. And my answer is always this: when you see people going out and doing things without fear of repercussion, that's the moment when you can really expect bad things, because only that divide us from some kind of normalcy and chaos. Because when that element of human, let's call it again, when that sick element of humanity recognized that there is no repercussion, or there is no nobody to punish them for them acts, they will act much more freely and much faster. And that's the moment when everything goes to hell.
Wow. Well, I thank you for painting that very clear picture, and I appreciate you being so clear and candid about that, because this is what I would like for people to understand that could happen. I think that's what we're really preparing for. You mentioned creating a prepping community or a group of people before a crisis that you could start to have maybe conversations with, or create different scenarios for a crisis. I guess obviously that's a very important thing to do, because to try to manage this alone from your home with your family, it's probably not the greatest thing. And not that you're forming a gang, but it's nice to have a group of people who that if something's going to go down, that you already have had a conversation and you could at least initially trust certain people. Could you speak to that a little bit from your perspective? Obviously, you didn't plan for that, but if you had to, obviously you teach people this. We'll talk about your books and your programs that we'll have a link to under here when we're done. But tell me a little bit about the importance of creating that community, maybe prior, and how and what a difference that makes when it comes to surviving something like this.
Again, survival, or as we call it, modern preposphere, is full of popular myths. One of those myths is that somehow it is popular and romantic to be lone survivor when something bad happens. From my experience, it is almost impossible. It is possible, but very, very hard. There are numerous examples why. Let me give you one so blunt example. Who will guard your home when you are sick and you will be sick? And this is very basic example. You cannot do it alone. Now, also, second myth is that even if you need to have a prepper group, everybody need to be like Navy SEAL inside. Folks, that's not real. Huge majority of us are not Navy SEALs. So why you are playing fantasy? Right. You are not Navy SEALs. Most probably you are not Navy SEALs. I'm not Navy SEALs. You need to play reality. So if you already want to form a group, and I strongly advocate that you need to have group, you need to have common folks inside that group. Another example. Who will be member? Most probably be member of your group if something suddenly bad happen. Well, it is going to be your family, people who live with you, your first neighbors, people from the street. So, as a reality, you may find yourself inside a group of people where there is your girlfriend, sorry, or your mother-in-law, or your brother, or people like that. If you have 6 people, maybe 3 of those people you will hate just because you don't like them. Mm-hmm. What you are going to do? You are going to shoot them? No, of course not. You need to work with them, and point of working with them is prior some event. And this is always that is come very clear to people on physical courses. I'll give you another example. On one of our real courses, there are 6 people. 2 of those 6 people are 60 years old ladies, and 2 guys are 65 years old guys who have problems of walking. We have real people on our courses with real problems, and we are trying to make group out of those real people. On the first night, people discover that they cannot sleep because one guy snore. And in the morning, whole group cannot function only because one guy is snoring. On second day, group is falling apart because one of the lady have, let's say, complicated personality. So that's the real life. Folks, there is no group of Navy SEALs who will save you. Your neighbors or your family will save you, but you need to work with them prior to the event. Now, that doesn't need to be some some wildlife refuge inside the mountain with shooting range. It can be your local church group. You can start to talk about some scenarios over there. You can start to talk who have medical experience among you, who have food growing or canning experience. Start with basics and work from basics. But main word here is reality. It is not movie, it is reality. Does this make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it absolutely makes sense because you want people with different skills that are there, and not everybody needs to be Rambo, right? You need maybe be nice to have one or two, but you need people that could do other things inside the home and to be organized in a way, have a good leader, and create a good system of communication to protect each other. Which I guess leads me to the next question. I'm thinking about, just keep thinking of you at that time and who you were with. So could you describe who you survived with and what your daily, nothing extreme, but what was your daily routine like? Who were you with in where you were, and maybe describe your group, and then what did the day look like for you guys?
My group was a perfect example of this region big family, because by the chance we three generation found in same house, only by mistake and by the chance. And through all the time it was group between 9 and 15 people, and among them there was really young people and really old people. But as you mentioned before, everybody had its part, and I need to mention here one of the oldest guy in the group, who was completely not capable to do anything physical, was really, really important. Why? Because he knew how to listen us when we have problems, and he had experience from Second World War. He was guerrilla fighter. So everybody have his value. Okay, let me rephrase it. Almost everybody have his value, and those who do not have value can be taught about some value. Second thing about group dynamic in that time, and I believe it is going to be pretty same even in future. Okay, we were not preppers in that time, of course. Every day was constant hard work. People today, people who were not through situation like some serious event, do not have clue how many stuff. Let me put it like this: system is helping us with many things, but we do not realize that because we are used on that. When system is out, electricity, running water, garbage disposal, everything, when that is out, every day is very, very hard work. Why? You need to collect food, you need you need to collect water, you need to purify that water, you need to collect firewood to drag it to your home, to chop it, firewood, to heat your house, to cook food, to dispose waste. It is constant 24, let's say 24 hours work. Now, when you add to that pressure of danger around you, it gets really, really exhausting physically and mentally. But I need to add, if you have enough people, it gets easier. I do not advocate big groups of people. For me, perfect group of people is around 50 or 20 people, because it is much easier to maintain and control group dynamic and each member inside, and still it is large enough to have all skills inside, to divide each skills inside of those group. We didn't have, in my time, we didn't have particular strong skills, but we learn how do you say it? We learn while we walk.
Yeah,
If
learn
that
as you
makes
go.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learn as you go, and because of system prior to the war, most of the people had needed to have army basics finished. So from that side, any grow up man know basics from army. So that helped a lot. if I compare it with today, it's completely different. Here in this region, young people do not have clue about that.
No.
Yeah, it's different.
So besides the imminent threat of other people, what would you say are some things that people are surprised of that are probably the greatest threat to life that aren't maybe nonviolent, but that most people don't consider that could be a major threat to life when you're in a situation like that?
Yes, hygiene. People usually do not pay attention in their preps too much about hygiene. When I said hygiene, I can say hygiene / first aid stuff. Why people do not take care, why preppers do not take care about it, I believe reason is because it is not fancy to talk about that. Hygiene or lack of hygiene killed many people, because if you are talking about hygiene and first aid or medical problems, there really comes to life that sentence, small cut will kill you. Again, people do not realize when system is out, there is no help. You are your own doctor or physician or nurse. So if you cut your finger, it is nothing. But if you do not clean it right away, it can get infected. That small cut can become bigger infected and start to infect your fist and then arm. And what you're going to do? Nothing. If you do not have means to treat it immediately by cleaning the wound immediately and uh, taking antibiotics, that small cut will kill you. Okay. So hygiene, biggest threat after that physical threat from let's say bullet or other people was hygiene. However unpopular this sounds, hygiene, people need to take care, much more care, prepper need to take about hygiene / medicine.
So as we're thinking about, if we are prepping, if we are going to be purchasing things, we should think about obviously hygiene. We should think about, antiseptics and medications, and we go to the bathroom every day. Where's that going to go, and how do you get that out of the area, because that can contaminate, right? Where these are things that they're not as sexy of conversations, if you would, but on day one it becomes an issue.
Yes,
that's one thing that's going to happen hopefully every day, right? There's going to be waste, get 10, 20 people, no running water. You've got to create a way for that to be handled. And so you're not recontaminating, the people that are there.
Yeah, I often put it like this. There is a huge chance that you will have problem with hygiene much more than problem with other people with guns. But people simply do not listen that because it is not cool. It is not fancy. Nobody wants to, or not too many people want to listen about gloves or masks or steri strips or stuff like that, or cleaning items. They want to listen about what caliber is better.
Well, we found out really quick this year here in the United States how quickly toilet paper and bleach and antiseptic and all that went out. That was the first thing to go. So that may have been maybe the best thing for us to see. People start to at least understand what are some of the basic things. So, as we're getting more towards, and my last question for you is going to be, because now we're getting towards what would you do to prepare, right? So you mentioned bartering. So I think that's a great topic of lists to have, because we're talking about other people. If you have things that you can trade, let's face it, people are not out just to do it. They're looking to survive. So if you have things that you can have that you can barter with other people, it seems to be like you could, at least for the moment, create some sort of exchange and maybe some safety, or you can get some things that you need. So what are some of the things that, because I think a lot of times people think about prepping all the stuff they're going to stick in their basement. I'm thinking about, hey, if you have to be mobile, what are some things that you could have that you could take care of your sanity, your sanitation, as well as having some things you can have in a backpack that you could easily exchange with others?
I will here go a bit out of the box and maybe that's not answer to your question. But as a first part, I will offer you most important barter item that I used in my time. It is skill. That's skill. In my time, for me, it was medical skill. You always carry with you. Nobody can steal that thing from your pocket. It is always in your head.
But I think you're a nurse by trade. Is that right?
Yes, yes, and it is very, very valuable skill. So first thing, skill. Now I will get back to your original question. What things? Barter was very, very important in my time. It will be more important and popular, I believe, worldwide because of this, let's call it, bad situation. I think black market will jump in much more and more in coming months. So everybody will have a chance to barter things. Some of my rules for bartering were very simple: small items and cheap items, but many. So, for example, one example is for me in that time was lighter, cheap disposable lighter. Small items in small packages, stuff that I can carry with myself all the time, but stuff that is not so valuable that I can lose my head very easy because of that.
Yeah.
So that I mean, gold coin, it is same size of the lighter, of course, but there is much bigger chance that I lose my head by in middle of bartering of the $1,000 gold coin than lighter. It doesn't have to be lighter. Lighter is only example. It worked for me in my time. For you, it can be, if you really want to go into jewelry. Jewelry for you can be golden rings, but cheap golden rings that you can offer. Like, okay, this is my engagement ring. This is last ring. Like give me something for it. Small things, small packages, and never trade inside your home. Always outside of your home. I did that many times, and I survived. Small things, small packages. If you store sugar for bartering, do not store huge amounts of sugar in one package. Small packages, not only because of spoiling, but also because of transport and bartering. Always small things and cheap things.
Wow. I'll tell you what, this has been a fantastic conversation because this is probably the third interview I've done with somebody who's involved with prepping and survival, and it's probably best that you were the third person because nobody had the boots on the ground experience like you had. You have, and you obviously are talking about completely different subjects than anybody else was because you've been there. So it's just so important for people to understand and put their mindset in the situation that you were in and try to create some scenarios. Purchase the book that you have. You have a program that helps people. There's things online, so we'll add here. But besides, so tell me some of the resources that you've created. I want people to be able to, and we'll put the links to them below. I'll shoot you an email. Just send me them. We'll put them below. But what are some of the resources that you recommend, including your book, that people could purchase and start preparing?
Yes, thank you. I wrote 3 books. One of those 3 books I wrote together with Toby Coward, who is mainly wilderness survival instructor, but we do together physical courses. I also write articles on organic prepper site for Daisy. Me and Toby are also active on Bartering page, Resilience Hub, and we are trying to interact with as much people as possible. Because I need to repeat this again. Sorry, survival shouldn't be something strange. Survivalism shouldn't be something strange. It shouldn't be about weird-looking guys hiding in old nuclear silos. It is about common folks, common world that might go in bad direction. So it is about you, your neighbor, your father. It is about common folks. That is my priority to speak and teach common folks, housewives, simple folks always.
Selco Begovic, you survived a horrendous life experience that most people can only imagine, and you've taken that experience and you've turned it into a purpose, and that purpose is to serve and help others to be prepared so that they could be ready for a situation like that. We were living in crazy times. It's the likelihood of something like this happens seems to be becoming more and more of a reality as the days go on. So I appreciate you, not just the resources you've created, but you've taken the time to speak with our community today and share this life-saving information with us. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.